What do you feel personally about the case? How does it make you feel when you read it and found out?
I found it quite distressing. You're always surprised when you hear something of this magnitude, but it fits with kind of what I know about the process of manipulating individuals. So anything that raises awareness of the processes of coercive control is for me, important as a way of combating this kind of thing in the future. So
I've been here 16 years.
Yeah.
And it was going on for 16 years and we didn't know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Until one day, one young girl complained to the police that she'd been raped in the house since she was 12. We were going out shopping when my wife was alive then. We were going out shopping. We couldn't get out to the street for police. There were police cars everywhere.
The main reasons that neighbours fall out with each other are over things like noise, so obviously noise late at night or noise during the day that can disrupt people who are maybe shift working and can't get to sleep because of noise in the daytime. Also issues over parking, so parking is always a big thing in relation to whether that's a shared driveway that somebody has.
With our driveway.
So that the first step would be to very carefully detail what the issue is, take photographs, and so you've got a proper diary and log of what's happened. The advice I would give, whether it's a minor or a major dispute, is always to try if you can to resolve it amicably, first of all, with your neighbour.
I've been here 16 years.
Yeah.
And it was going on for 16 years and we didn't know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Until one day, one young girl complained to the police that she'd been raped in the house since she was 12. 12-year-old. And we were going out shopping when my wife was alive then. We were going out shopping. We couldn't get out to the street for police.
Yeah.
There were police cars everywhere. And they'd been raping these girls for a long time. He was messing about with the girl next door.
Yeah.
The son was. He went in one day to hide from her, and he put a rope around his neck and he slipped. And he hung himself in the hallway. Yeah, only a young boy he was. And the father, I will never forget it. On the day of the funeral, the father was outside cracking jokes, a bastard, what he was. Oh, he was a scumbag, evil bastard he was. And I used to invite him down here to me, my wife. We used to have barbecues in the garden, and I had a 14-year-old girl then. It did give Kid really a bad mark, yeah. There are a lot of people in Kid Valley were really annoyed with him. As you go up out here now, the house on the corner,
Okay. Yeah.
right? His wife kicked him out
Yeah.
for having sex with his daughter. They were all Londoners. Oh, he was an absolute bastard, he was. I'm so glad he's still in jail. I thought he might have been out by now. That child is ruined for life.
I founded and run the Cult Information Centre in London. The Cult Information Centre responds to phone calls from people with questions about the cult phenomenon. A lot of people call because they've lost a loved one to a cult, and we try and help them to understand what's happened to that person and to help them to build bridges. What causes people to become involved is that they've become victims of the techniques of mind control being used against them in a cult environment. There's tremendous peer group pressure to conform to the wishes of the group at all times. Removal of privacy is very, very common, so you don't get a chance to think things through on your own. It needs the average person for simply 3 or 4 days to completely control them. The intent of a cult is not that people would escape, and so some people are recruited into cults, live in cults, and die in cults. When you become a cult victim, you adopt a new personality. So there's real you and then cult you. Cult you is now dominant, and it's a bit like 2 Russian dolls. Cult you is the outer doll, real you is inside. Cult members are out of touch with reality. Cult leaders themselves are perhaps motivated by the need they feel to gain power over others. You will be programmed psychologically to understand that this is the only important group on this earth, and the easiest people to recruit are people with very healthy minds. And yet those people think that there's got to be something wrong with people that get involved in cults. The safest people are the very seriously mentally ill. Society still doesn't realise that in general and needs to do so.
The church was formed in 1977. It was mainly created as a safe space for people who believe in similar values. It gave hope to those individuals, a new family, a home, something which they never had.
Trouble began last August when 127 of the 300 workers walked out of the factory complaining of poor conditions.
This was the time to act. There was no point in waiting for all the BL plants to vote.
Immediately the decision for action is endorsed by the membership. All those in favour, please show.
Around 1999, we were forced to move from our home in London. The council moved us to Kidwelly, a small cul-de-sac where many of the church members resided who were a family. We moved together. I led the church and drove people to reach their higher power, to help them understand the ways of the universe and the powers within. I gave the members jobs, money, knowledge that was beyond anything they'd ever experienced. These members were my children, my prodigies. They were destined for success the moment they were born. I just helped them realise that. It brings me and the gods great anger to know they all failed. All the potential. The accusations made were all false. A father would never do such evil things. I tried to protect them from the outside. The church was their home, where they belonged. However, I never made them stay. If they wish to succumb to the abyss, that is simply their choice. I can only guide my children. Then saith the prophet and slave of the Beatus One, Who am I, and what shall be the sign? So, she answered him, bending down a lambent flame of blue, all touching, all penetrant, her lovely hands upon the black earth, and her life body arched for love, and her soft feet not hurting the little flowers. Thou knowest, and the sign shall be my ecstasy. The consciousness of the continuity of existence, the omnipresence of my body.
Okay, so in terms of what myself and what I do, I'm a senior lecturer in social and forensic psychology. So I have a PhD that looks at perception and investigative interviewing, and have been kind of involved in teaching some stuff around coercive control and sort of the reasons why people would join the kinds of organisations that you're talking about in your project. In terms of why people commit crimes, I think there are a number of different reasons. It varies depending very much on the crime that you're talking about, but usually what we're looking for is something that we call offence supportive cognitions. So these are beliefs that may have come about in early childhood. So for example, people may have witnessed violence.
Kinds of messages and images that they're putting in their minds. I think they're seeing nightly dress rehearsals for huge acts of violence.
Or sexual violence or other kind of controlling or coercive behaviour as a child. They may have experienced it. They may have learned that that's a way to kind of achieve something, to get some success. So in terms of how we would then work with them, we would be working to identify what their particular underpinning beliefs, what their particular triggers are. In terms of the Kidwelly case, I only know what was in the media. It struck me that because there are some mechanisms for coercive control. There are a series of kind of theoretical explanations, and again, what tends to happen is things happen slowly and incrementally. So So it struck me that you could explain some of that behaviour using some of those existing models where we look at things like isolation of information, so individuals become increasingly reliant on each other for information rather than getting access to the outside world. We see people getting inconsistent positive behaviour. There's usually a tension between punishment and rehabilitation. There needs to be a balance of people, so people need to be held responsible for their criminal actions. In terms of whether prison can help criminals, it depends on the prison. A well-run, a well-resourced prison could be an opportunity for somebody to transform their life.
Although I may be gone, my legacy will still live on. The knowledge, the text will still exist in my universe, in your universe. My teachings will inspire people to take action, to do as they please, not as others want.